Hello and welcome back. This is candidate master Viktor Neustroyev, and today we're gonna observe another study-like combination. This type of combinations is also known as etudes. Usually it never happens in the games, but it's quite important for strong players to be able to train with such study-like combinations to improve their ability to calculate better in the game. Okay, now please look at this position. Here it's white to move and white wins. Try to find a winning combination yourself. You may pause the video and think a little bit. Okay. I hope you at least tried to solve this puzzle, but I believe the solution was really hard, and even a strong player can't calculate the line from the beginning to the very end correctly. However, the idea of this puzzle is to play rook a3, to sacrifice the rook. If king b5 here, then rook b3. Okay, but let's first analyze some other moves played by white. For example, what if knight d3? If so, then queen e4 or queen f8. Actually, queen e4 looks slightly better. And black is able to give a perpetual check to the king standing on a8. That's a draw. What if instead knight goes to a3? If so, then queen f8, king b7, and queen captures on f2. This position is also drawish. What if instead rook b3? What do you think? How black can play? Again, how to play for black to make a draw in this position. If you want, again, you may pause the video and try to find this move that leads to a draw. Okay, please look, the king is trapped on a4. The only square it has is b5. His pawns are stalemated. He can only move to b5 with the king or with his queen. That's why he plays queen to b7. Now the rook controls the b5 square too, and in this position white is forced to capture the queen. With the king or with the rook doesn't really make any difference. That's a stalemate. Okay, that's why rook a3 is better here. Any other moves lead to a draw only. Okay, so if king b5, then rook b3, and white ends with 2 extra knights. So that queen takes on a3. How to play now? How to continue for white? You may say, why not to take this queen, because we already have extra knight. But then, unfortunately, it's a drawish position. So even if we take on d3, king takes on a2, knight c5, king a3, with the idea to come closer with the king and at the same time be able to advance the a pawn. King b7. If, for example, instead of this move, white plays d4, then king b4, and he can't move the d pawn because he loses the knight. At the same time, black plays king c4 on the next move, attacking the pawn, and if something like knight e6, he starts advancing the a pawn. So d4 doesn't work. Let's check if king b7 works. King b7, king b4, king c6, protecting the knight, king c4, d3, check, king c3, so black still controls this square. King b5, or actually king d5, doesn't matter. We play king d4, and the idea is to advance the pawn to a4. If knight takes, then we capture the pawn on d3. If king takes, then we capture the knight, and we are able to block the d pawn with the king. That's a drawish position. Let's go back. So looks like knight a3 here was a wrong solution. What if knight c3? Yes, that's a winning move. If now queen takes on c3, d takes c3, d2, and knight d1. Or maybe it's better first to play king b7, because he cannot play d1, there is still a knight here. King b5 now, and knight d1 in this position. King c4, king a6 attacking the pawn. If now a4, then just the king comes closer. Pawn here, king a4. If instead of playing a4, black plays king d3 with the idea to come closer, take the knight, then promote the pawn, then king a5, king c2, but then knight f2. And then white starts advancing the a pawn. For example, d1 equals queen, knight takes on d1, king takes on d1, and then one of these pawns can be a queen. So to sacrifice the queen for the knight in this exact position is a wrong solution. The only other move is king b4. If so, knight d3 check. Where to move? Looks like there is only one square, it's c4. But can the king escape? No, it can't. Then we play knight e5 check. If king d4, then knight b5 fork, we win the queen, and with two pawns and knight against one pawn, white wins. If king b4, that's the move that we definitely should analyze, then we play king b7. And you see, in this position, black is in Zugzwang. He can't play with the queen. If queen goes here, or here, then knight d3 fork. What else he can do? Can he play queen c3? Let's check. Queen c3, d takes on c3, king takes on c3. King b6. If king b2, then a4. So probably a4 is the best move in this position. Then just knight c6. King b2, knight b4. Then we play king b5 and save the knight, the pawn, and also capture the enemy pawn. Let's go back. So that's why in this position he cannot play with the queen. The only move is king c5. Not here, after king b7, of course. The only move is king c5. Anyway, let's check what can happen after that. So after knight e5, what if he plays king c5 immediately? There is almost no difference between the position when the king is on e8 and the king is on b7. So that's why let's observe now this position. So after knight e5, he plays king c5 immediately. King a7. And of course not king b7, because then the queen escapes with a check. However, when the king is on a7, the queen still cannot escape because of knight d3 fork. So king c5, king a7. Looks like he still can't move with the king. If king goes here, then knight c4 fork. King d4, knight b5 fork. King b4 is the only move, but then king b6. So that he plays a4. King a6. White king comes closer. What if, for example, he goes back here, we play king b6 and a4 in this position? Then knight d5, that's even a checkmate. So the king is on c5, he plays a4 in this position. King a6. King b4, the only move. King b6. No more moves for the king. So that he has to play with the queen. For example, he sacrifices the queen for the knight and the pawn. But in this position, unfortunately, he loses after knight c6. That's a very important move, because then the knight goes to b4. King b2, knight b4. King a3 attacking the knight, but then king b5. And he cannot capture because of the knight. He has to lose the protection of this pawn, so king b2. King takes the only pawn, and here white wins. He plays king b5 and advance the a pawn. There is nothing black can do. Okay, let's go back to the very beginning. Can you imagine that in this position, this rook sacrifice leads to a winning position? Of course, it's because of bad position of the king on a4 and even on b4, and because we also activated our knights that control almost all the squares around the king. At the same time, the queen is quite close to the king. That's why if he doesn't play correctly, he will be forked and loses the queen. Okay, so thank you for attention for now. I am also going to create a new video about study-like combination. I hope you liked it.